Right now, somewhere in the world, someone is lighting up a joint and thinking they're doing something modern. Something rebellious. Something new. They are not. Your ancestors found this plant first. Thousands of years before cities, before writing, before the wheel. And the real answer to how they found it is far stranger than someone smoked a weed and liked it. Picture a funeral. Not a modern one. A funeral held 4,000 years ago on a cold, windswept plateau in what is now western China. Mourners gather around wooden braziers. They drop stones into the fire. The stones are hot. Something is placed on top of them. Smoke rises, thick and sweet, and the mourners lean in and breathe. That's not a guess. In 2019, archaeologist Meng Ran and a team of researchers studied 10 wooden braziers recovered from tombs at the Jirzankal Cemetery in the Pamir Plateau. They found chemical residue burned into the wood. Cannabinoid compounds, and not the low-potency kind that grows wild. This cannabis had unusually high levels of THC. Someone, 4,000 years ago, was already selecting plants that got you higher than the rest. Think about what that means. Selection implies choice. Choice implies repetition. Somebody noticed a difference between one plant and another, remembered it, and went back for more. So when did the story actually begin? Long before that funeral. Cannabis is native to Central Asia, and for most of its early history it wasn't smoked at all. Botanist Robert Clark, who spent decades studying the plant's origins, argues that early foragers likely used it in several ways at once. As fiber for cord and cloth, as food from its seeds, and, almost by accident, as medicine and ritual smoke because burning cannabis releases a scent, and scent is one of the oldest triggers of human curiosity there is. Here's the strange part. You didn't need to invent smoking to discover this plant's effects. You just needed a fire. Ancient peoples across Eurasia burned all kinds of plants as offerings and incense. Cannabis, when it ends up in a hot fire, does something the others don't. Changes how you feel. That's not a small discovery. That's the kind of thing that gets remembered, retold, and repeated at the next fire and the next. Paleobotanist John McPartland has spent years tracing cannabis pollen through ancient sediment layers, mapping how the plant spread alongside human migration out of Central Asia. His research suggests something counterintuitive. Cannabis didn't just travel because humans carried it on purpose. It thrived in disturbed soil, the kind humans created wherever they settled, farmed, or dug graves. In other words, the plant followed you before you even fully realized you were cultivating it. So the true first contact wasn't a single moment of discovery. It was thousands of small, scattered fires, lit by people who had no idea they were starting something that would outlast their entire civilization. By the time recorded history begins, cannabis is already everywhere in it. Ancient Chinese medical texts describe it as a treatment for pain and fatigue. Scythian nomads, according to the Greek historian Herodotus, threw hemp seeds onto heated stones inside small tents and inhaled the vapor, howling with what he described as pleasure. That's not a modern invention. That's a described ritual from roughly 2,500 years ago. Here's the twist. You tend to think of drug use as a purely recreational, modern habit, something separate from survival. But for most of human history, altering your state of mind wasn't separate from daily life. It was woven into grief, medicine, and connection to the people around you. That funeral on the Pamir Plateau wasn't a party. It was mourning. The smoke was there to help people process loss together, to shift a room full of grief into something more bearable. So the next time you see cannabis treated like a purely modern trend, remember the braziers. Remember the stones glowing in a 4,000-year-old fire, and the mourners leaning in, breathing together. You are not doing something new. You're doing something ancient enough that your ancestors were already refining it before they had a word for high. Right now, somewhere in the world, someone is lighting up a joint and thinking they're doing something modern. They're not. They're finishing a ritual that started around a fire on a cold plateau, long before anyone thought to write it down.